it's Ashley and welcome back. Today I have a really fun, unique tutorial about using ink blending to color in our stamped images. For this video, I'm going to be using the First Blooms stamp set and coordinating die set. To start out, I'm going to be using some Bristol Smooth cardstock. I got my water media mat out. I just like using this because it seems like I don't have to hold the paper. It kind of stays put for the most part. So I'm going to be using picked raspberry, carved pumpkin, and mustard seed distress oxide. And I'm just going to kind of blend that all very randomly on this card. I'm not going to worry too much about the blending of the different colors together because I'm going to be kind of misting over it, and then I'm going to be stamping on top of it and die cutting it out. So it's okay if the lines aren't that smooth. It's nothing that's overtly noticed when the project is all done. So I'm just coming in different areas and kind of doing a little bit of different colors in different areas, so you can kind of imagine if you took a stamp and stamped it on top of it, you kind of want a couple different colors in it. So I'm not doing any big areas in one color, kind of mix matching them all together on here. And for this, I'm using my Trinity stamps ink blending brushes. I love how they come to a point, so you can get in smaller nooks and crannies a lot easier than our standard round brushes that you find. So it's super handy for this technique. All right, so I forwarded a little bit here. I'm just finishing up ink blending, and now I'm taking my mister and doing some fine mist and then some areas of more droplets. And I'm drying between every step here, and that will really assure that my distress oxide is nice and dry. Next, I'm going to be using some pearl mists on here and just kind of doing the same thing, a fine mist over everything and then some more droplets on certain areas. And I'm coming in with my heat tool again and drying it. I will be adding some embossing powder to my final stamped images, so I want to make sure that this is very dry, so it helps kind of drying it after every step, where normally you don't have to do that if you're just going to let your project sit and dry, but for this, definitely want to make sure it's all dry, otherwise the embossing powder will stick everywhere. So now I'm just laying down some little blots of color and getting them wet. I'm going to do some ink splatters now with each of these colors just to give it a lot of different layers and dimensions. So I'm just going ahead and doing that over the whole piece for all three colors and just kind of cleaning off my brush in between and just using those little wells to add some water to so I can clean my brush. Once I'm done doing all three of these colors, I will go ahead and heat set it once again, and then after that you can just kind of feel it and know that everything is nice and dry. So I'm going to forward through this part and my drying process. So I'm done with that whole process, and now I am getting ready to put my stamped images down. So I'm just deciding which way I would like it to look, and with it like how I have it, you will see a little bit of all three colors in there. So for this, I'm using Versamark watermark ink, so that is just a clear sticky ink. It's great for holding embossing powder, which I will be using. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm using white embossing powder after each step, and I will heat set it, and then I'll go back in and do my next stamped image. If you do get a little bit of powder that sticks, you can just use a little dry brush to brush away any little bits that you don't want. So I'm going to go ahead, like I said, and heat set this in between every time, just because I always will like get a little piece of paper that goes through it or something. So I like to just do it after each stamped image. You definitely can wait if you're careful enough and get all of your images stamped and put the powder on, stamp, put the powder on, and then heat set it at the end. You definitely can, and I have done that, but I did not feel like that was a good idea on this day, so I just heat set it after each time. So now I'm ready to die cut out my images. I have everything stamped here. You can kind of see I've stamped multiple images of some of the stamps, and I don't intend to use all these, so I'll have extra, but I just wanted to fill up the page with all the stamped images. So now I'm going to go ahead and die cut out all my images. I'm going to put as many dies as I can on, and it'll just take a couple goes through my Gemini machine, and I will get everything cut out. So here is what all of our die cut images look like. I think right here they look like so tropically and really pretty. You get so many different looks with this stamp set. And at the end of this video, I have a couple other cards that I made using the same technique. So watch till the end for that. So I'm going to use the modern embossed rectangle die for my card base. I'm going to use the largest one there. And I'm just going to die cut out a piece of white cardstock to keep it nice and bright. I think black would look cool and make it really pop as well. And you'll see a card that I do with black later on. But this one I'm just sticking with white. So now I'm just kind of scene building, seeing where I want everything to be and how I want my card to look. This part always takes me a while, but it's definitely fun to do because you can get so many different looks just on how you put everything together. All right, so I kind of settled on half of my flowers on the top and half on the bottom. I have them situated how I want them to be, so I'm just taking some of this blue painter's tape and laying it down to get all my images off at one time to keep them where I want them. And then I'm just going to lay the glue down right on the back of that, and I can pick the whole thing up and lay it right back down. It's super handy technique to use. You can use a washi tape, you can use mint tape. I would have used mint tape as my first choice, but I was about out of it. So I ended up using this blue tape. If you do use this blue tape, it can sometimes be a little stickier. So I like to lay it on my shirt quick, or if you have a blanket with you, lay it on your blanket just to get some of that stick off so it's not too harsh. So then I have all the glue on and I'm just laying that back on and pushing it down, and I'm just going to leave that tape there for a little while until it's dry. So I'm going to do the same steps for the bottom as I did for the top here. So I've already applied my adhesive and now I'm just laying it down and going to let that dry for a little bit. So now my top is probably dry enough. So I'm going to start taking that tape off very slowly. And I kind of pull it back onto itself. I think that's the best way to do it so it doesn't rip the paper at all. So I've gone ahead and matted everything onto a pink piece of cardstock. I added a die cut sentiment hello, and then I also added that sunshine sentiment, which is from our hello sentiment stamp set. And now I'm going to add some little flat backed pearl gems here in coordinating colors. I love that Trinity has like a color for everything and I have them all. So these are a lot of fun to use and they go perfectly with this. So I'm just kind of adding a couple here and there. I like to kind of do them in sets of threes. I always think that looks pleasing to the eye. So I'm kind of doing three on the left bottom side and three on the top bottom, and then I'm just scattering a few extra around the card. All right, so here is the card all finished. I really like how that shimmer pops. So next I'm going to show you a few more examples of cards that I made using this stamp set and the same technique. So here's one that I did on a black background and it really pops. I also did that shimmer. For the embossing powder on this one, I used a holographic embossing powder. So even that part kind of has some shine and shimmer to it. And here's one that I used a gold embossing powder on the stamped images. And then I added some vellum behind that hello, and then just added a little and from you to me sentiments on each side of that. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, along with our Facebook group, Imagination, Inspiration, and Conversation. And if you like this video, please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Have a great day.